Rabbi Tilchin has been sharing Jewish Orange County as well as her family and friends with me for over 15 years. And here's how I feel about it. Ani ve'ata neshane et ha'olam. Ani ve'ata az yavo'u kvar kulam. Amru et ze kodem lefanai lo mishane. Ani ve'ata neshane et ha'olam.
Hello, it's Chelsea with CityNet Homeless Services in Orange County, and it is an honor and a pleasure to just publicly thank the Jewish Collaborative of Orange County. We've been a partner with you all for the past couple years, and you have continuously stepped up to fill the gaps that we experience and our clients experience consistently, and it is amazing to have the Jewish faith at the table. I think interfaith collaboration is very important to building healthy communities, and you all do that on a daily with us, and I know so many other awesome organizations. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate you.
Hi, my name is Noam Rauscher, and I'm a rabbi in Pasadena, California. I'm a freelance rabbi. I've been working with Rabbi Marsha and the Jewish Collaborative of Orange County for about a year now, teaching classes for ALI, as well as in the Pathways to Judaism class. And it's a wonderful experience, not only working with Rabbi Marsha, but also teaching those classes. And being able to teach and provide something has given me something to get excited about and creative for during this time. And I think it's also provided the students a great opportunity to come together and to learn something, to connect with people, and to get out of kind of these weird quarantine circumstances that we're all in.
Ikaron is vibrant after-school Jewish learning for students across Orange County, in person and online. My name is Devorah Miller. I write the curriculum and I teach. I work with Rabbi Karen Eisenberg and Mora Lauren Carroll. And with Rabbi Marsha's guidance, we are putting together a beautiful program for any family who wants regular Jewish learning for their children.
Hi, my name is Lojo Simon, and I'm the producer of Bare Bones Theater New Play Readings. I'm working with the Jewish Collaborative's BIMA program to produce readings of new Jewish works for Orange County audiences. Each reading includes a post-play conversation to further engage audiences in finding their joy of Jewish through performing arts.
Rabbi Tilchin and us, we can change, we'll change the world. The Jewish Collaborative of Orange County, we can change, we'll change the world. It's been said before, but it's never been done. Rabbi Tilchin and us, we can change, we'll change the world. Ani ve'ata neshane ha'olam.
Shalom, it's music and midrash. Relax, enjoying a sweet nosh. This is our three-course gala event, celebrating community, unity, our festival of friends. Hey! Welcome, everybody, to the third event of the Jewish Collaborative's 2020 Festival of Friends, celebrating community unity. This morning, our theme is music and midrash, featuring the great talent of composer and cantor Gerald Cohen, all the way from Yonkers, New York. We kicked off our 2020 Festival of Friends on August 16th with That's Entertainment featuring the Von Schaap family. On September 11th, Neshama Karlebach and Sam Glazer brought us a Shabbat to remember, not just any Shabbat, the final one of last year, 5780, and a special commemoration of 9/11. Many of you were with us for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, Sukkot and Simchat Torah, and now this morning is a perfect program to bring everything together as we launch 5781. We've learned so much about the blessings of virtual connection in this unprecedented time of social distance, and we look forward to a time when we can brunch together again in person, but we're grateful to be with all of you through the magic of technology at this wonderful event. Our vision throughout all of our gala programming has been to engage community, to showcase our collaborative spirit, expand awareness about our unique mix of programs, services, and events, and really put the fun in fundraising. So none of this would have been possible without our sponsors and our donors and our advertisers. And as a patron-supported organization, we work hard to create meaningful and memorable experiences for everyone who joins us under our broad and open tent. We hope you'll consider becoming a donor to the collaborative and supporting the work that we do and help us reach our annual fundraising goal by the end of 2020. It's my pleasure right now to introduce two very special friends who you will probably recognize. Jason Fetty, my musical partner, who has really helped build the collaborative from its inception, and the one and only Alan Chapman of KUSC fame, and of course, the patriarch of the Von Schaap family. I'm so glad you guys are both here. Thank you for joining me this morning. And, I appreciate that you value the collaborative enough that you wanted to be here and share with our friends why this is such a special organization.
Hi, Marsha. Yeah, absolutely. And hello, Alan. It's so nice to see you, sir.
And good to see you too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan of the Von Chaps, and I booked Jake one time. Did you know this? I booked him for a gig in Laguna Beach at the.
I understand you did, and I thank you for that. Because every step toward his being self-supporting is a good thing.
He's a musician. I think you've got a long.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's brilliant to see you, and this is obviously the Jewish Collaborative is such a massive part of my life, and we once went to an event and people had to go around the room and say who they were, and of course, and Scott Spitzer, Rabbi Marsha's husband, said that he was the Rebbitzin, he was married to Rabbi Marsha, and when it came to me, I said, I'm Jason Fetty, and I'm also married to Rabbi Marsha, so it's a big part of my life, and of course, all our programs so important and so brilliant and fills such a gap, I feel, in the Jewish community's life in Orange County. So if people can support, if you can help us, if you can be a donor, be a sponsor, or just purchase something from the auction today, that would be fantastically, we'd be very grateful, put it that way.
Well, I want to say that I'm not married to Rabbi Marsha. However, I am married to Karen Benjamin Chapman, almost lifelong friend of Rabbi Marsha. They've known each other since they were teenagers, and we have watched with great delight to see how Marsha's career has developed, how her, devotion to spiritual needs has just grown and grown, and delighted to be part of this organization, the Jewish Collaborative. I just am overjoyed that Marsha asked me. And thank you, Marsha. I'm overjoyed that Marsha asked me to be part of this fundraising event because I know how important it is, especially in these times, to look to the community of people who believe in the goals and the mission of this organization to step forward and make that financial commitment. So I certainly hope you will.
Yeah, so we've got this tremendous, and I say tremendous, I really mean it. It's a silent auction, and all the items are online. And Alan and I have picked a couple that we think are particularly interesting. Alan, do you want to go first with yours?
Well, sure. I have a very long list, but I'll just mention a couple. The one that immediately grabbed me, because in this day and age, we are bombarded with information and misinformation about intelligence, is a book by Dr. Jan Goldman, who really knows his stuff. I won't get into all of his qualifications. You can read that on the auction website, but it's a 2-volume book on the Central Intelligence Agency. It is that insider's knowledge of something that we all wonder, what the heck is going on? Okay, and this just in from the CIA. If the winning bid is $360 or more, Dr. Goldman is going to get together with you and your guests for a 1-hour Zoom presentation on the ethics of espionage. That to me is beyond exciting, that particular item. And then the other one I'll mention is the item which will come in handy while I'm reading the book or while you're reading the book, and that is the International Beer Bucket. So bid on the book, bid on the bucket. You can have book and bucket and support a great organization.
Brilliant. You see, we cover lowbrow and highbrow, or low brew and highbrow.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, and that's part of the joy, really, of the Jewish Collaborative. It's not just one thing. We're really not one-dimensional. Anyway, there's a 1-week stay here at the Western Desert Willow Villas at Palm Desert. It looks beautiful. And then there was another thing that caught my eye, because I don't know anything about this really, but Botox units and session at Botox It. 20 units of Botox provided by Andrea Dunkelman, MD, owner of Botox It in Tustin. So, right now, go to the link on the screen. Don't stop watching the show. There's loads more to come. But go to this link that's on your screen right now and have a look at these auction items. It is a cornucopia of brilliant stuff. Everything from beer to trips to fabulous jewelry to really cool books and experiences.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate those endorsements. They seem like great. There are great auction items, and the cause is great. And we want to let everybody know. Everyone who has been able to support the collaborative with a minimum gift of $360 since June will be invited to an invitation-only virtual event featuring noted constitutional scholar and the dean of UC Berkeley's Law School, Erwin Chemerinsky. Now, the conversation with Erwin Chemerinsky, hosted by former Irvine Mayor Beth Crom, I don't think I need to emphasize how the timing of this event is going to guarantee a fascinating conversation, and it's going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday, October 25th, just a week before the November 3rd election. Guests will be able to submit questions prior to the event. Beyond that, at the end of the year, around Hanukkah time, Chamber Music OC is going to do a private, specially crafted concert for friends of the Jewish Collaborative who've been able to make a gift since June of $3,600 or more. So if that's something that you're able to do and you were thinking about making an end of the year gift to the Collaborative, we would be so grateful and we would love to have you share that special event with us. And now what you've all been waiting for. It's my great pleasure to introduce my friend, my teacher, and my beloved colleague, Cantor Gerald Cohen. Gerald has his doctorate in music. He's a well-known and award-winning composer of opera, liturgical music, choral music, and instrumental music. He's also a beloved chazan in his synagogue, and he is, most importantly, a cherished teacher for cantorial students at both the Hebrew Union College, Institute of Religion, School of Sacred Music, and also for the Jewish Theological Seminary, which is where he was my instructor. I was one of Gerald's first cantorial students who needed a lot of help learning music theory, and he was so nice and patient, and we have been dear friends for many, many years. I want to say welcome, Gerald. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Marcia. It's really wonderful to be here with you and to celebrate our friendship of so many years and to make music together in this way. So I'm really excited to be here.
So Gerald, I have a question. Your journey from when you were like a Yale man and, in undergraduate school and getting your doctorate in music and becoming a cantor. I would love for you to share with people who are meeting you for the first time sort of how things unfolded throughout your career, because it's so interesting.
Okay, thank you, Marcia. I will do so. So I'm actually going to start a little bit before college. I was kind of nuts about classical music from the time I was a kid, and I knew from early on that I wanted to be a musician, and I was a pianist, and pianist and composer is what I really really want to do. I also was a shul going kid and loved going to shul, and for my bar mitzvah started leading parts of the service and things like that. But it was really, music was my main focus. So as you said, I went to Yale undergraduate. And then once I graduated, I was starting graduate school at Columbia in composition, and also decided to study cantorial to be a chazan with my childhood cantor, Jack Mendelson, who you also studied with and is one of the great cantors of our time and the teacher of almost everyone.
Yep.
But I studied privately with him, and that was really wonderful. So at the same time I was in graduate school, I also began to get positioned as a cantor, and I was lucky enough very early on to get a wonderful position at my wonderful synagogue, which was called Genesis Agdas Achim, later moved and renamed Shari Tikva. And so I've been there since 1987 now for 33 years, and it's still my shul, it's so exciting.
In, in,
And
in what city, Gerald? Where's your
it's in
synagogue?
Scarsdale, New York. Scarsdale, New York. I live in Yonkers, and the synagogue's in Scarsdale. I was also fortunate, as you mentioned, to start teaching you. No, I was also fortunate to start teaching at JTS, Jewish Theological Seminary, in 1993, and have taught there since then, and also recently taught at HUC, the Hebrew Union College. I work with students on both composition and sight singing and music theory. And it's really gratifying. And one of the most gratifying things is that my students then become my dear cantors, dear colleagues. And of course, because we're a pretty small profession, we all know each other, right? And so these people who I worked with as students are now I have a whole generation of people that I've worked with that are now my colleagues, and it's so wonderful.
Gerald, you were the first composer I ever met. In fact, I think the whole class was sort of in awe of when you would come and share with us something that you'd been working on. And the first sort of major work that I recall was your Higadata Levincha, which was, if I'm not mistaken, a commission by the Syracuse Children's Choir. And I'd love for you to share just a little bit about that. And then that's going to be the first piece that we play for our friends today.
Okay. So I do remember playing that piece for you in the class, and it was really exciting. I've really loved getting to play the pieces and I still do that, getting to play for pieces for my students. The piece we're going to play is Dayenu. Everyone knows the text, I think, of Dayenu. Dayenu, it would have been enough for us. It's from the larger choral piece Vehigadata Levincha, which translates as "And you shall tell your child," which is based on selections from the Passover Haggadah. It was written for the wonderful Syracuse Children's Choir, which is not a Jewish choir, but Barbara Tagg, their amazing conductor and founder, specifically commissioned me to write a piece on a Jewish theme. And since Passover is all about telling the story to the next generation, I felt that it was a great text. And recently, a few years ago, it was performed by Hazamir. So Hazamir is an amazing organization. It's the International Jewish Youth Choir, or teen choir, where teens from all over the country, all over the US and Israel, rehearse all year in their own cities and then come together in New York every year to give a grand concert of 400 kids on the stage of Lincoln Center or Carnegie Hall. And so I got a chance so thrillingly to work with these kids on this piece and then to perform this with them at Carnegie Hall. And so that's what we're going to hear next.
That was so beautiful.
They are great, aren't they? They are
They're
so
they're
amazing.
fantastic. For those of you who don't know, the Zamir Choral Foundation has a teen program called Hazamir, which is the International Jewish Teen Choir. And in fact, Gerald, you don't know this, but a colleague of mine, Cantor Judy Sofer, and I have been sort of dreaming of creating a Hazamir chapter in Southern California. There is something in LA, and even though it's only an hour away, and so that can be a
It's an
long
hour
trip.
away.
So hopefully that's something that the collaborative can foster in the not too distant future. Um, I was thinking about probably the next composition I had heard of yours, which was premiered at the retirement party of our beloved dean, Rabbi Morton M. Leifman, when the cantorial school was shifting to new leadership in 1997. You did a setting of the Ha'arev Na, which is something that we recite every morning in our daily liturgy as we prepare to say the blessing for studying Torah. And I remember I heard Cantor Jack Mendelson, your teacher, my teacher, sing it, and I literally had chills from the top of my head to the tip of my toes, and I and there are many other liturgical pieces. One, which is your most famous, we'll hear in a little bit. But talk to me about how you compose liturgy. How do you decide what to do when? It's interesting.
This year, I've written several liturgical pieces. And of course, this year has been a very particular year because it's been hard for all of us. Especially, I'll just say, especially hard for those in music and the arts because so much has been canceled. I've had several premieres canceled, but really consider myself very fortunate because I'm able to continue my work as a cantor and as a teacher, a lot of it online, and then as a composer because that I can do at home and in my studio right here. This is where it happens.
Magic.
I've I've written several songs for the synagogue specifically for this time, and one of them, the most recent one I did, was Achat Sha'alti, from a verse from Psalm 27, which we sing for the time around the high holidays. So I wrote it right around the beginning of Elul. It's a psalm filled with both hope and trepidation, hope and fear, an appropriate blend for this year and for this time of year. The song, as you know well, Marcia, is a setting of one verse of the Psalm Achat Sha'alti, which expresses longing for closeness to the divine in a difficult time. And I just want to read a beautiful translation by the poet Pamela Greenberg. One thing I have asked of you, one thing I seek, to dwell in your house all the days of my life, to behold your beauty, to enter your innermost holy place.
Would you play that for us?
I will.
Thank you. Gerald, that was so beautiful and so touching. And for me, very much needed now. I'm
Thank you.
looking forward to learning it, and I hope you'll let me sing it.
I'd
Uh,
love to have you sing it. Absolutely.
so we've heard a choral piece that you've done. We've heard a sample of a liturgical piece that you've done, and now I want to talk about your work in opera. So I'd never met somebody who wrote an opera before, and I also remember in those same years, maybe a little bit later, that you had shared with me that you were working on an opera about the story of Sarah, Hagar, and Abraham. Right, so the patriarch Abraham, his wife Sarah, they can't have children. Her handmaid, her Egyptian handmaid, is told to sire a child on their behalf, and you were writing the story. And of course, it's one of the most powerful dynamics in the Torah that sets the stage for the rest of Jewish history and the
Mm.
relationship between what became the Israelite tribes and their Arab brethren. It was very exciting to be involved in that process. And I think we're going to hear some excerpts of Sarah. It's called Sarah and Hagar. And I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what we're going to see.
Okay. So, first of all, I do remember so well when you were, when I was talking to you about this, when the project was just starting, and how excited you were about it, and all the ideas you had, and we discussed a lot. So that really has a lot of strong memories for me. And then it was just so wonderful that your Aunt Jean then was really important in helping to support she helped to underwrite the writing of the libretto, and that was really special. So thank you again for that. Many years ago, but thank you. So our event today is called Music and Midrash, and I think a lot of my stuff can fit into that. But this was a midrash that I did. It's very directly a midrash. It was written with librettist Charles Kondek. I want to give him a shout out. So the idea was to take this difficult and central story, as you say, create our own midrash, especially focusing on the roles of the women, of Sarah and Hagar, who are clearly so central to the story, but a lot of details are left out in the story, and also to focus on the stories of Isaac and Ishmael as they're both being equal in importance, that Abraham really has to sacrifice or almost sacrifice both of his children, and that for us to see those as parallel stories. So in our opera, one thing we do is that Sarah and Hagar have a very close relationship at first, almost like mother and daughter. And it's that relationship that first gives Sarah the idea of Hagar maybe being a concubine to produce a child, of Abraham and Hagar creating a child together. So in the first scene that we're going to play, it's a trio between Abraham, Hagar, and Sarah. We see the moment where they agree on this plan to have a child, and the joy that they have, and how it creates great hope for them for the future.
Wonderful.
With my time
So in the second excerpt from Sarah and Hagar, we see a big celebration given for the birth of Ishmael. Now, there's no reference in the Torah to any such celebration, but think about it. This was their fulfillment of a dream. Avram and Sarah, through Hagar, finally have their longed-for child. This scene, which we'll hear only the beginning of the scene, ends Act 1. And of course, it will be in Act 2 that things get messy. Things get really complicated and fraught as the miraculous birth of Isaac changes all of the relationships in the family.
Gerald, that is so exciting. And I remember marveling at the what was so unique about that work is that the relationship between Sarah and Yishmael and Avraham is not something that even the Midrash deals with very much. And that's why I think it's such an important work. And I do hope that someday we will have the opportunity to produce the full opera right here in Orange County. I'm looking forward to another collaboration with you. I have a question. If people want to access the music to the whole opera, how do they do that?
You can go to my website where there are some excerpts of it and also on my SoundCloud page. And on my website, they can also be in touch with me about accessing the whole thing.
Okay. So we're about to close out this first section of the Gerald Cohen retrospective. And I feel like the perfect way to end it is with the piece that you composed that really has put you on the map and sort of made you every cantor in the country knows you, if for no other reason, through this composition of Psalm 23, which has been performed chorally and by so many people. And I'd love for you to tell us about why you originally composed it, and sort of the life that it's taken on since then.
So this piece has a very deeply personal and very sad origin. A dear friend of ours, who was from my first congregation, died of breast cancer at age 42, Marcy Scharf. And I was asked by her husband to sing at her funeral, and I just decided that night before to write a Psalm 23 in her memory and her honor. And I just sang it. And as I started singing at various places, people just seemed to really connect to it.
There's a very special performance of this that I think is rather new.
Yeah, so this was a performance which was done just a couple of months ago by the wonderful young countertenor Aryeh Nussbaum-Cohen, who is a really rising star in the opera world. He won the Metropolitan Opera auditions and is performing all over the place. And as he's also very deeply connected to Judaism and has made a series of recent videos of some of the high holiday melodies that he loves. So he wrote to me a couple of months ago and told me that he was performing this my Adonai Roi, and here it is.
Oh my gosh, that guy is incredible.
He really is.
Somebody for us to really look out for in coming years, I would say. So we're going to take a little bit of a break now. We have to have a bid intermission because, after all, ultimately this is a fundraiser for the collaborative, so that we can do great artistic programs and build on the collaborations that we've started and look forward
Marsha, I just want to say, so in terms of the bid intermission, I just want to offer anyone who's registered for the auction, I'm happy to offer a download of my most recent album in gratitude for being part of this wonderful event. So if you haven't yet registered for the auction, do so right now.
Oh my
and
God.
join the bidding. And then I'm very happy through, you'll arrange it for them to get the album of my music.
Gerald, that is so lovely. And I'm
Pleasure.
really excited because after our little break, I'm going to introduce you to someone who's become a very special friend and a very important person to the Jewish community in Orange County, Maestro Murray Sidlin. So that's coming up next. Thanks. Hi, you guys.
You know what I was thinking? The only thing that could make this better is if maybe there were a musical number to introduce bid intermission.
I have one. I actually have that.
Okay.
Okay, let's see if you guys like this. Feel free to sing along if you want to.
Okay.
Bid intermission, bid intermission, bid intermission, bid intermission, bid intermission.
Bid intermission.
We have an auction, virtual, delightful, many great selections waiting for your bid. There is a way that you can help provide more joy to Jewish moms and kids.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. That's got possibilities.
Now, Jason, I'm not hearing from you. Your thoughts, Jason, about that bid intermission?
Well, great.
You know how you feel about musical theater, Jason Fetty. Don't lie to me.
Yes, but you know what I really love is auction items, which support the Jewish Collaborative of Orange County, and picked a couple here. I like this. This jewelry is so gorgeous. There's a piece here by Yasuko Siegel, and it's really long, Japanese Baroque pearl necklace. It's 59 inches long, if you can imagine that. It's really fabulous. It's valued at $6,000. Our starting bid is $2,000, worth every single penny. Gorgeous, gorgeous thing.
Okay, well, now I've been looking through all these auction items, and what drew my eye were some Judaica items. And let me just mention a couple. An absolutely beautiful ceramic platter and Havdalah set. Just gorgeous, wonderful to have around the house. And especially with Hanukkah coming, how about a beautiful gold Hanukkah with case? That's among the items on the auction. So take the time to really go through and see what's available here. See what you can take for your own use, for your own enjoyment, maybe as a gift for someone else with Hanukkah coming. Yeah, and at the same time support the Jewish Collaborative.
Yeah, and there are some very affordable gifts there, absolutely, and some pretty high-end items too. At $2,100, there's a 9-night stay at an adults-only Pineapple Beach Club in Antigua. Just looks magic. Spectacular quarter-mile white sand beach, freshwater swimming pools, nature trails, all the stuff you expect in the Caribbean, and the stay's valid for up to 2 rooms through December 20th, 2022. So you've got plenty of time to plan for this. It just looks magic.
Yes, it does. Now, usually when you think of an auction, you think of bidding and getting something for yourself. I want to tell you how you can use this auction to give something to other people, because that's what the collaborative is about. It's about outreach, it's about service, it's about spreading the spirituality and the joy around. And right now on the auction website, you can make a contribution to support educational scholarships and programs. You can adopt a Shabbat. Imagine that, adopting a Shabbat. You can become a patron of the Jewish arts, all possible on the auction website. I hope you will consider that. And also remember that if you contribute $360 or more, you're going to be in on that very special get-together with Erwin Chemerinsky, and that is something that's not to be missed. So it's a win-win-win situation. You win, the collaborative wins, and the people the collaborative serves all win. And it happens right now on that auction website.
You guys, thanks for all the wonderful promotion that you just did for some of our beautiful items. But I got to ask you the truth. And this is, I mean, it's the Emmis here. I'm looking for the truth.
Okay, what?
Alan,
Yeah, yes.
what is your favorite auction item? Now, I know you listed the Hanukkah, but I know you got one. Do you have a favorite auction item that we're bidding, that's part of our bidding today?
You mean even more than the ceramic fish plate? Yes.
Yes.
My absolute favorite auction item is this guy over here, Jason Fetty. He's an auction item.
Oh my God.
Yes. And Jason, tell him what you get. If you bid on you, what do you get?
Well, I will. I began my musical career by being a kind of folk troubadour. So what I like to do is go to people's homes, bring a very beautiful sounding little PA system, and do my folk troubadour shtick where I talk and tell stories and some off-color jokes, and and play songs for the people, in the room, like a little house concert. I like to do, but I would do any event, big or small, and happy to do it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. But you are also, Alan, an auction item here. Would you like to talk about what people get for their hard-earned cash?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Well, if you are the successful bidder on me, I will come to your home by way of Zoom, and I will do something that I've done numerous times at Pacific Symphony and for the LA Philharmonic. I will bring you one of my multimedia extravaganzas.
Wow.
These days we aren't traveling that much, but I have a wonderful presentation on music inspired by specific places around the world. You've got great visuals. You've got the music playing for you. I do a little talking, and I'm going to come to your home via Zoom if you are the successful bidder. And thank you, Jason, for mentioning that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Actually, I should mention that if you do bid on me, I would be happy to do it virtually too. Or you can wait until we're all safe to gather again in person. But that's wonderful, Alan. Brilliant.
Well, thank you guys for being such good friends and for donating your time to support the collaborative. Now we want to take a moment while you're looking and bidding to honor and to recognize our sponsors, our donors, our advertisers, and supporters. Thank you all. Welcome back, everybody. We are about to start the second segment of the Gerald Cohen retrospective of his beautiful music. And we're moving into a sort of different genre of the kind of work that he does. And actually, I began really thinking a lot about Gerald and his compositions a little over 2 years ago when I had the privilege of meeting Maestro Murray Sidlin, who spent quite a bit of time in Orange County from December of 2018 through April of 2019 because the Pacific Symphony performed Defiant Requiem, which is a piece and really a production that Murray put together as part of the Defiant Requiem Foundation, which is a whole story in and of itself. When I shared with Maestro Sidlin, I told him about my friend Gerald and that Gerald had also composed some Holocaust music. Um, I said I'd love for you to meet him, and Murray Maestro Sidlin agreed. So I want to first of all bring Maestro Sidlin back and say how happy we are to have you back in Orange County, and we miss you terribly. You really became sort of what we call a Ben Bayit, sort of a resident. In our hearts. And I wanted to find out, first of all, how are you doing and what's been going on for you during these months of COVID? Because I imagine some of the performances you had scheduled are not taking place.
First of all, good to see you, and great to meet you, Gerald, and to be with everybody here. Well, as you can understand, everything was put on postponement. We had some really wonderful commemoration concerts that we were looking forward to very much in the UK and in Amsterdam and so forth. We hope that they will be resuscitated at an appropriate time when it's safe and everybody's interested in pursuing life that was. In addition to that, we too have become Zoomers, and we're doing presentations over Zoom.
If people are interested in joining some of the things that you're doing on Zoom, do they just go onto the Defiant Requiem Foundation website, or are they closed? Are they open, or are they?
No, that's absolutely available. DefiantRequiem.org. That's all you got to do.
Wonderful.
And you can pick up a lot of information right off the website. And by the way, if there are teachers who would like to use our video, our film, and then in connection with it, we have these extraordinary lesson plans that go with it, and it's all free. It's all free. You can, just pick that right off the website. So
Great. So listen, I don't know if I hope you remember, but when you were here, I was telling you that I had a friend who was a composer, a former teacher who was very beloved, and he is our guest artist this morning. And so it's my pleasure to actually bring him into this conversation and introduce the two of you. So Dr. Gerald Cohen, meet Maestro Murray Sidlin, and I'm very excited to introduce you. Okay.
Hi, Murray.
I salute you, Gerald. I really love your music. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and I love the work that you're doing, and as we'll be talking about the work I wrote about Terrorism, but it just your Defiant Requiem was really inspiring for me in learning about that as well. So thank you so much for all your wonderful work that you're doing.
My pleasure, and we can tell everybody we were in the same town for a few years and didn't know it,
Right.
You were at Yale and I was conductor of the New Haven Symphony in those days.
Yeah, so we that goes back a few years, and I definitely saw you performing, but you probably didn't see me because I was just a kid.
Wait a second, row 4, 6 seats in, you were asleep.
That was me. Absolutely,
you were asleep in the slow movements of my symphony.
So one of the things I was thinking was so exciting for me is that, I mean, first of all, not that many people are composers of music, and certainly not Jewish music. And I really loved the nexus between, Murray's mission to remember the young Geralds who never got a chance to really mature into their art. And here you are, Gerald, you've had the blessing of just being able to really, live your passions. And so, and I know that you incorporated some of the Verdi in the work that we're about to hear, and I wanted you to tell us about that. And then I'm hoping you and Murray can talk a little bit about it after we hear the piece.
Okay. I'm going to now we're going to play two different pieces, which both have their background in the Shoah. So I'm a first generation American. Both my parents were refugees from Europe, and my father's mother was killed in Auschwitz. So I knew that at some point in my life I would need to write some music related to the Shoah. I had the great fortune to be commissioned by the wonderful Cassatt String Quartet. They wanted to write a piece about Terezin because they had met one of the survivors and wanted to honor her and thing. And so Terezin was a transit camp near Prague, which of course Murray knows everything about and has been there. I've never been there, where many were sent on to Auschwitz and other death camps, but also kind of weirdly and miraculously a place where for various reasons the Nazis allowed prisoners to have something of a cultural life. And there were composers creating new works, there were performers performing opera, chamber music. And so I decided to write a string quartet, which was a tribute to the music and musicians of Terezin, and to do it by weaving in several pieces associated with the music and musicians of Terezin. So the first one, and I want to play for you a couple of examples of that so you can hear them now and then hear how I use them in the piece. The first is a lullaby from the children's opera Brundibar. And Brundibar was an opera which has become very famous. It was a piece performed more than 50 times by the children of Terezin while they were there. So here is a little excerpt of the lullaby from the children's opera Brundibar, which you'll hear then in my string quartet.
Interesting about Brundibar, the composer, Hans Krause, was really quite well known. And by the time he went into Terezin, his music had already been performed in the States. He had a performance.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had a performance with Koussevitzky and the Boston Symphony, and then Stokowski in Philadelphia got interested. It was a short symphony. It's a chamber symphony. And so in other words, his days were going to be great. He had already been recognized, and unfortunately, he perished in Auschwitz. But he was a most imaginative composer, and this work, Brundibar, was actually written before Terezin, before they were all interned. And then when he got there, he saw the likelihood of it being used, and he made it a little bit easier for the kids and smoothed it out a little bit.
That's beautiful.
So the other piece that I wanted to just play a short excerpt, which plays a very important part in my piece, is the Verdi Requiem, the Dies Irae from Verdi's Requiem. And that, of course, is a piece, very well known, and Murray knows it so well because he's performed it so many times. And the amazing story, which Murray can tell more than me, is that the conductor Raphael Schechter assembled a chorus to perform Verdi's Requiem, and it was such an amazing thing for them to get together and rehearse this piece. And I must say also, when I saw your the documentary of the Defiant Requiem and saw the your choir rehearsing in the room where they had rehearsed, the basement room at Terezin, that was just so moving. It was just really incredible. So and I know it must have been an amazing experience for you. But so that this is just a very short excerpt from the Verdi Requiem, which I'm sure most of you will recognize because it plays an important part in my piece as well. So now in terms of my piece, so first I just want to say this was a piece commissioned by the Cassatt String Quartet, and it was amazing to work with them on this piece, and they're going to be recording it next year once we get past the COVID time. We'll get a recording of this. And I've also arranged this for full orchestra, for symphony orchestra, and that version is still waiting its world premiere. So hopefully that will happen sometime soon. So I want to just play two excerpts from the piece. The first starts with a variation on the Brundabar Lullaby, which for me represents the hope and the love of all the people who are making art. But then it leads into the chaos and the terror of the Verdi Dies Irae, and you'll hear both of those. And the second is a calm epilogue of the piece. There's another excerpt, a Yiddish folk song, which is transformed into an elegy for those lost. And the amazement for me, how in their captivity and in their awareness that they could be transported to their death at any moment, that somehow they were able to bring this hope and beauty to each other, and they continue now to bring it to us so many years later.
Gerald, it's beautiful. I mean, it's wonderful music. I loved it the first time I heard it. You sent it to me, and I was deeply moved by it.
Thank you so much.
One of the things about it I have to say is that it's played so beautifully so that we really hear the music. You know, so often in contemporary music, new music, the artists don't have the time or the inclination to spend what time they need in order to really represent it, so that you don't really get the entirety of the score. But this was quite beautiful, and I was moved then, and I moved now. So congratulations. That's really
Thank
great.
you, and you're absolutely right. The Cassatt Quartet is incredible, and work with them and see the dedication they gave to it was really special.
Well, we're all lucky that they're going to record it next year,
Yes.
as you said, so it'll be available to so many more people. But now you were telling me about an opera that you were working on. Maybe fill me in a little bit more about that.
Okay, so this is an opera I wrote. I started actually soon after I wrote Playing for Our Lives. It's called Steal a Pencil for Me. And it's a love story also set in the Shoah. And it's a love story based on some people that I knew very well, members of my congregation, Jaap and Ina Polak, who had fallen in love while they were in the concentration camps. They fell in love while they were in Westerbork in Holland, and then later in Bergen-Belsen. And it's one of these very complicated opera stories, because at the same time he was married to another woman. She had a boyfriend that was probably lost in the war, but she didn't know yet. So there's all of this intimate story set against this big historical picture. So I wrote this actually and finished it in time. They were still alive. I wrote it for Jaap's 100th birthday and Ina's 90th birthday, and we performed it at my synagogue in Scarsdale and at JTS in New York. And we're going to see an excerpt from that. And then very fortunately, about several years later, it had its premiere production at Opera Colorado. And Opera Colorado did a beautiful, beautiful performance of it. So what I'm going to play is an excerpt from Steal a Pencil for Me. This is in the second act. Ina and Jaap have been separated for about 4 months. When Jaap was sent to Bergen-Belsen, Ina has not there yet, and then they come back together. At the very beginning of the scene, you see the Nazi commandant kind of being nasty to Ina, and then Jaap and Ina come together and say, "Oh my gosh, we've seen you after so many times, after so much time." And what they start talking about, they have an aria, a duet, which becomes one of the central parts of the opera, which is called An Ordinary Breakfast. And they talk about how their dreams of how once they're free from being imprisoned, they realize the things they're going to care about most in life are the ordinary things in life. Having breakfast, having coffee, having a shower, all the things that they've been deprived of, and how it's going to make them appreciate everything in life. And this is when they finally declare their love for each other.
You are the lucky ones, the chosen few. You will help us build an industry. You are the diamond jewels. You, girl, they say you know shorthand in German. Report for work as secretary to the Diamond Committee tomorrow. I was afraid I'd never see you again. There's so much to say. The things I want to tell you. Tell me what it's like here. Everyone is starving. There's very little food. So many people are dying. Tell me something good. vision of what life could be. It's the thing that I hold on to.
What do you see?
A life of ordinary breakfasts.
Ordinary breakfast.
Milk for the coffee, sugar for the tea.
Ordinary breakfast.
Sitting at a table, eating quietly.
Oh, what I would give to live a life filled with ordinary breakfasts. Eating from a plate.
Drinking coffee from a cup.
A spoon toasted the sugar, butter for the bread.
Planning each day ahead over breakfast.
Over breakfast.
Just an ordinary breakfast with you.
Ordinary mornings, afternoons, and
Ordinary workdays, coming home in the evening, reading the paper, sitting in a chair.
taking a shower, washing my hair.
Ending each day by sleeping in a bed.
Pillows and blankets, and you.
And me.
Yes, yup, I've come to see my dreams of the future include you.
The thing I want to tell you.
The thing I want to tell, I want to
Wake in the morning, lying next to you.
planning the day ahead.
Over breakfast.
Over breakfast.
A life of ordinary breakfasts with you.
Congratulations, Gerald. That was so beautiful. And I think I recognize one of the singers. Is that Cantor Davidson's daughter?
That's Alana Davidson, who's
Wow.
a really wonderful soprano. She actually did the premiere both of that, and she was also Hagar in Sarah and Hagar on the recording that we heard. And then the baritone was Bob Balanek.
Well, I was thinking, about you making this, and in my conversations with Murray, I I know that a big part of what the Defiant Requiem Foundation is dedicated to is to making sure that again the younger composers that didn't have lived to the fullness of years are heard. So Marik, will you tell us about a few of those composers and how we might hear some of their music?
Well, these are people that we try to give some measure of the career they never had by illuminating the music as we have it. Now that we have a lot of this music, we have to perform it. We have to perform it, not to perform it. And this is something that I think that all the people in our foundation believe in. Not to perform it is to murder them a second time. We have to really bring this forward. Here's an example. There was a composer named Rudolf Carell. He was in the last class, Gerald, you'll appreciate this. He was in the last class that Dvorak taught at
Wow.
at the conservatory, like around 1911 or something like that,
Wow.
before he died. So Corel led the life of a composer. He managed to make contacts and people played his music. He had some operas and he had a lot of chamber music, and he taught and he performed and he taught and he performed. War breaks out and he joins the underground. He was not Jewish. He joins the Czech underground, and eventually he's caught. And he's in about 4 or 5 concentration camps. And the last camp he was in was Terezin. And he was, at the time, he was sketching new works for an opera and a piece, a nonet. Now, you would think at that time, maybe a duet, a trio, that's stretching it. No, a nonet, a work for 9 players. And he is sketching it. And he runs out of paper. And what does he do? He tells the guard at the small fortress in Terezin, where he was in prison, tells the guard he needs additional toilet paper. And the guard brings him toilet paper, right? Very thin ply toilet paper, and he is sketching on the paper. And so eventually he dies there. He dies from exposure and illness. And the guard had the sense to pick up the things that he left, the papers, and handed it over to one of the musical people on the other side, more in the town. It may have been Victor Ullmann. It may have been one of those guys. They passed it on and passed it on how these things work. You know, it always gets passed on. And then eventually in 1980, something like that, the work was completed and finished. So now you can publish it. Now it's published, you can perform it.
What's so amazing to me, just from what you've shared, is how this really gets back to the whole idea of music and midrash and the capacity of music to convey a message that words could never, no matter how articulate you were. And that is the gift that both of you have and that are bringing to the world. And I just want to say that I feel like we've learned so much today, and we've gone on a journey with you, Gerald and Murray. Thank you for joining the conversation and sharing some of the treasures that you carry. And I want to acknowledge the fact that the Jewish Collaborative is very supportive of the Pacific Symphony Orchestra, which is working so hard to be a community partner in all ways by having special concerts that are really cultural recognitions of some of the more dynamic groups that live in Orange County. Not sort of classic Walt Disney, but immigrant populations and whatnot. And there is a very large Jewish community here, and that's what brought you, Murray, and hopefully the PSO will have a chance to do some other wonderful and creative works in the ensuing years with the Joshua's Horn Society. And I'm delighted to say that the president of the Pacific Symphony Orchestra wanted to join us for a little bit today. And
wait a second. Before he comes on, I want to say something nice about him, so I can't be accused of saying it while he's there.
Okay.
No, before he comes on. That organization, I've been all over the country and I've conducted everywhere. And I have to tell you, the Pacific Symphony has got 2 incredible treasures. One is Carl Sinclair and the other one is John Forsythe. These 2 have worked so diligently to create an orchestra that serves great music and that serves the community and the imagination of the community. These are tremendous people. I must say that I'm profoundly moved by what they do and how well they do it, and the guidance that John especially provides.
So, as promised, the Pacific Symphony is really a cultural leader and a community leader in Orange County. And that is largely due to the partnership and vision of both the conductor, Carl Sinclair, and their president, John Forsythe. And John, who's a wonderful speaker, is here to share some words about the incredible work that the Pacific Symphony is doing. And Gerald, I'm really excited for you to meet John. So here you are.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm very proud of the work of the Jewish Collaborative. Marcia, you've brought an incredibly innovative approach to creating an inclusive experience for Jews and non-Jews alike, and you've fostered a beautiful community. And I love your commitment to music, and obviously you've got a wonderful background yourself in sacred music, and I really appreciate the support of the Pacific Symphony and creating and fostering partnerships between Jewish institutions and the symphony. It's very important to me. Just reflecting on our partnership, Marcia, and really between the symphony, the Jewish community, the Jewish collaborative. The crowning achievement of that was the Defiant Requiem project. When we learned about how Murray had conceptualized the project, this kind of incredibly emotionally charged event that was maybe once in a lifetime for all of us in Orange County to have such an incredible experience, that to reflect on the dignity of those who were in the choir, who sang in that cold and dank room in the basement of a kind of an old prison building, the barely functioning piano, the single score that Raphael Schachter had smuggled. All of this was really singular for all of us, to know that there was this galvanizing power of great music to defy oppression and, frankly, forge a greater will to survive. It was, for many, the only thing that kept themselves alive. It was their substitute for food and warmth and friendship.
Well, I also, we look back and we look forward, and what's so exciting for me to introduce you to Gerald is that Gerald is one of the people that is sort of like a dinosaur, meaning he's really still,
I'm a dinosaur.
Not a dinosaur, Gerald. I'm just saying, like, there's not a lot of Geralds these days. There are some, and I would love for you to just, what would you want John to know about what your future in Jewish music and some of your hopes?
What I'm hoping to do, throughout my whole music life is to bring, my deep love of the classical tradition and bring a Jewish voice to that. And also within Jewish music, to sort of bring the art of classical music there. So I'm trying in my music to continue that tradition, both just as a Jew in classical music and someone who's really, as a cantor and someone involved in Jewish music intimately, to bring those two worlds together.
I find it interesting that the sort of self-acknowledgement of being Jewish, and a classical musician, that integrated point of view is not something that came easily. Leonard Bernstein certainly wore his Jewishness on his sleeve, but many of, you think about the great conductors like Schulte or Reiner, or they really wanted to assimilate the great European tradition of classical conducting. And to the extent that I think they suffered in their own unique ways during the war, or lived through austerity or whatever, or frankly were bullied badly throughout their careers, I think that they distanced themselves from their Jewish identity. So I think to some extent, can we reclaim not only more Jewish interest in the art form, but also like a distinctive Jewish voice for orchestral music? And you're choosing to be a composer and integrate those things, I think, is really important. We actually need to create the creative material. That's important. And I don't want to exclude that there are some really good things happening now.
Oh yeah,
there is a richness in the Jewish compositional world. Some Israeli composers, really some really beautiful voices. So I think maybe it'll be a new golden age at some point.
Yeah. I hope so, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you had a chance to meet, and John, thank you so much for sharing some time with us today. And I hope you'll have a chance to enjoy some of Gerald's beautiful music, and that you'll be able to meet in person sometime.
I look forward to that. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, John.
I'm so grateful that John was able to join us, Gerald. And I'm also I'm happy for you to meet him because I think these kinds of connections strengthen Jewish music across the country and going forward. So um, I I feel so blessed that you and I are still friends and that you've been able to share some of your artistry with us today in Orange County and everywhere for people who are joining us from all over the country and maybe even other countries. And this will not be the last time we see you, but I do want to invite you to close out the retrospective of your work with the piece of your choice. So, what would that be?
So first of all, thank you, Marcia. It is so wonderful that we have our friendship over so many years, and that you're doing such amazing stuff with the Jewish Collaborative, and I really thank you so much for bringing me on for this and getting a chance to share my music with your community. I would love to end in a way as we began with the wonderful group Hazamir, the international Jewish teen choir who just does so much amazing thing. I just a shout out to Vivian Lazar, who's the director of Hazamir. This is a piece. So Diana was a piece they performed of mine, but this is a piece, Pichuli, which is from Psalm 118 from Hallel, which I wrote for Hazamir and which had its premiere last year in 2019. And I've now written 3 pieces for Hazamir, and what's so wonderful to me is that I love this group so much, and as I write the piece, I just imagine them singing it. So that is the big inspiration. I mean, it's always for me one of the biggest inspirations is thinking of the performers that are going to perform it. But here, to be thinking of these 400 kids on the stage at Lincoln Center, and they're going to be singing their hearts out, singing by heart, and in this case also with me at the piano accompanying them. It was such a joy to write this piece and to work on it with them and then to have them perform it last year. So here is
What's the Can you translate the verse?
Pichuli sha'arei tzedek avovam odeya. So open for me the gates of righteousness. I will go in them and glorify Adonai. So wow. It's basically a song of thanks and of wonder at how wonderful the world can be.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
aren't those Hazamir kids amazing?
They are.
I'm so thrilled every time I hear them, and I'm looking forward to them being back on stage. We're hoping maybe this spring or else next year. So once again, thank you so much, Marcia. It was such a pleasure to get a chance to chat with you and to get a chance to present my music here. So thank you so much.
You're
Really.
welcome. I learned a lot, and I'm just, I feel as if the through line of my early start in the world of Jewish music is sort of coming full circle. And I'm so excited to hear more and learn more from you as the years go on. May God bless you with many opportunities to realize your artistic vision. It's beautiful. That was so extraordinary to see all of those young people, young Jewish teens from all over the country gathered together, hundreds of them singing Jewish music with such joy. It's not a scene that we see very often, and I hope people appreciate how remarkable that was. Alan, I know that you know music better than anybody I know, and I'm so glad you had a chance to meet Gerald and hear some of his work.
Well, Marcia, I have to thank you. This one of the most special things about this event was your introducing me to Gerald and his work, and I know introducing everybody else to Gerald and his work. We've also been watching the progress of the auction, and we all feel very excited about the generosity of people supporting the organization right now. And I think it should be mentioned that the auction remains active until Friday. So please, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at the items, if you haven't had a chance yet to bid on Jason, yeah, he's an auction item. Please take advantage of it. Thank you.
Yeah, and please do bid on Alan, but don't pay quite as much for him as you would obviously for me. And I too want to thank you, Rabbi Marcia. I adore you, and I love your family, and I love the work that you do is so precious and such really an inspiration to a guy like me. So thank you so much, and thanks to everybody who's watched, and of course to those who are helping to keep the dream alive of the Jewish Collaborative of Orange County.
I really want to thank both of you, Jason and Alan, for making the time to be with us today and help enhance the community feel of this event. It's also my opportunity to thank our very special guest, Cantor Gerald Cohen, and of course, Maestro Maurice Sidlin, and the president of the Pacific Symphony Orchestra, John Forsythe, for being present today and sharing such beautiful words of scholarship and passion. It's our pleasure to be a partner with the Pacific Symphony and so many other arts organizations in the community. I also want to thank both of you for your role in August 16th, our first event, That's Entertainment. Alan, your amazing family, who I love so much, and you, Jason, for being my co-host for all these events and for being with me all these years. I also want to thank Sam Glazer and Neshama Karlebach for leading us in such a beautiful service on September 11th, and all the people that made these events possible. First and foremost, Josh Friedman, the lead guy at 10 Media Productions, who put everything together with such patience and humor. He's a beautiful person, and if you ever need an event, you should definitely contact Josh Friedman. And of course, my right-hand friend, Jackie Mentor, who just made everything behind the scenes go so well, and Beth Crom for her beautiful writing and leadership and vision for structuring all these events. I want to thank our Gala committee. Everybody's name is listed on the page, but they worked so hard. Michelle Lips for putting together the auction items, Cheryl Honig, and everybody else who shared their advice and wisdom with us. So I just want to encourage everybody to stay connected to the collaborative. Please follow us on Facebook. Get on our email list if you're not, so that you can hear about upcoming events. We do a Friday night service every week. We do a wonderful program at the end of Shabbat at Havdalah. We have a nightly minyan for people needing to say Kaddish, and so many wonderful education programs for children and adults. So we look forward to building our friendship with you. This is our Festival of Friends, and we look forward to seeing you throughout the year. Do you have a closing song, Jason, Alan?
Hey, I got an idea, Jason. Do you know a tune that goes like this? Does that happen to be in your repertoire?
Thanks, guys.